Hello everyone and welcome to the History Unicorn, Reddit Finds. Today we are exploring the world of the unexplained from the subreddits r/paranormal and r/cryptid. Links to the original posts are in the description below. Let's dive in and find out exactly who's whistling in the darkness. When I was a kid in Mexico, we loved to play hide and seek with all the kids in the neighborhood, at night. The houses were so close together, that you could jump from roof to roof. And with everyone being friendly and knowing each other, they wouldn't mind if we did get on the roof. We had my cousins come over for dinner, and our parents were just out on the porch talking, having a couple drinks. Some of the kids came over and asked if we wanted to play. It was already dark out, and this is when we especially liked to play, so we agreed. There was this one girl I had a thing for, who also happened to join that night. I knew if I could get her alone, I might have a chance to kiss this girl. I knew she liked me too, so it would all work out. We all gathered in the middle of the street, and randomly chose who would count. Then all the other kids would run and hide. So as the kids started counting, I looked at the girl waving at her to come follow me. Holding my hand, I led her to my aunt's house, which was vacant at the time. She was on vacation and I knew the house was empty. I didn't see any other kids go there. Front door was locked, so we ran to the back and checked if it was locked too, and it was, but at the back of the house my aunt had an old washing machine. I knew we could get on the roof from there. I helped her up first, and when she got up we could hear someone coming. I told her to go and hide, she ran off. I was able to make it on the roof not long after, and I knew for sure someone was searching the house next to my aunt's was having the second story redone. I hid in a half-completed bathroom I hear. I thought I was alone, but I felt someone grab my hand. It was pitch black in there. I couldn't see who it was, but I heard a soft voice whisper, "It's just me, don't worry." It was most definitely her, so she squeezed my hand a little more. We hid for some time, and it was great. Then from afar, we could hear all the kids saying we give up. We had won the round. I came out of the bathroom and looked down at the street where all the other kids were. That's when I saw her clear as day looking up at me. I froze. If she was down there, whose hand am I holding? Slowly turning my head, I can still feel the grip of whoever's hand I was holding. With it still being dark, all I managed to see was the glow of two red eyes looking right at me, no face. I wasn't the only one to see it. When I got down from the roof and I jumped down, the kids were all pointing up and behind me asking me who that was. They could see the red eyes too. We stopped playing immediately and went inside one of the other kids' houses. We talked about what we saw, but only briefly. We were all scared. Here's a few comments from this post. Smoked Eggs commented, "This is why all the grown-ups always told us not to play hide and seek in the dark. You might encounter something that wants to join in on the fun." OP responded to Smoked Eggs, "We did it all the time, but after that I don't think I played in the dark anymore." October Prime also commented, "Ask your aunt or cousins if they ever experienced anything." OP responded to October Prime, "It's funny you should mention that. I did ask them if they have experienced anything. They have, and according to my cousins, they would see shadow figures and have constant knocking on their door. With their room being on the second floor, and a window facing the house that was under construction." Okay. So this happened 2.5 years ago. I was living with my horribly abusive ex. Every way except physical and SA. And his family had a building in the back of the yard that me and him lived in. I should begin this by saying, there was a lot of negative and evil energies and entities that fed on and encouraged the chaos in the home and within all of us who lived there. While I lived there, I often felt people watching me, or directly behind me, who weren't there. The bed we slept on would shake either as we were falling asleep or just sitting laying on it. I would hear her in my ear constantly, as if someone did a short breath in my ear. I would hear voices I couldn't explain, stuff like that. At one point, my ex was playing around with a security camera. He hooked up to the TV somehow And there was a shit ton of orbs everywhere. Literally over 100 orbs, darting or walking past, or following someone around the room either in front of, or behind them, or both. But this one occurrence has haunted me ever since it happened. It was in the middle of the night, after yet another horrible fight between him and I. So horrible, I stormed out of the building and went to go sleep in the van. I had gotten settled, and after about 10 minutes, I looked over across the yard, and saw this humanoid figure. It didn't glow, but it was so white and bright, against the night, I thought it did. It stood with its legs parted, and its arms slightly out, as if it was about to start running towards me. And it looked like it had a skirt or something at knee length. Though it didn't wear clothes, or have anything but its body on it. It was just part of its body, I think. It didn't have a face, or hair, or any other feature. It was horrifying. It filled me with such an immobilizing, white-knuckled fear. I was quite literally frozen in fear. It didn't look scary. But it quite literally made me the most scared I had ever been in my entire life, up until this point. I somehow knew it could read my thoughts, and that made it even more horrifying. I knew if I could just get into the house I'd be safe. But I knew the second I tried to move it would do something. It never moved, and I was still literally frozen in fear. If I had to estimate, I'd say I went out to the car around 12:30 or 1 in the morning. I was out there, looking at this thing, terrified the entire night. All the way until the sun broke, and it was gone. And as soon as it was gone, my body unclenched itself. And I was immediately hit with this wave of exhaustion. And I was out like a effing light. This is where shit gets even more weird. I should start this out, by saying my ex was as a drug addict. Specifically of meth, at this point. He is a liar, and a keen manipulator. I'm not sure why he would lie about this. But then again, he could do something right in front of you and lie to your face, so I don't know. I told him what happened, and he got this weird-ass expression on his face. And he told me, that at some point or another, he made his way back into the house to use the bathroom. And him tweaking out, he stuck his head out the bathroom window in paranoia. And saw a woman looking down where I was, through the window of the car. He said he thought it was me. And called out to who he thought was me, to get back to the house. He said she looked up, he realized it wasn't me. And that she darted off across the front of the car, where I was literally looking through the entire night. And ran off through the neighbor's yard. I can say with 100% certainty that I was not asleep. And that I wasn't dreaming. I was awake the entire night. And I had the bags under my eyes, and the fatigue of both lack of sleep and the adrenaline crash to prove it. I'm making this post, to try and see if anyone knows anything about what the actual F that was or what it could be. It wasn't a night crawler. It had arms, and it was much more humanoid. And I don't live in the areas in which it's known to manifest in. This experience has been on my mind a lot more than usual lately. And I'm just struggling to come to terms or to rationalize that experience. I am thankfully out of that god-awful house, and that even worse relationship. 2 years as of this early January. So no need to worry for my safety or sanity now. Here's some of the comments from this post. Poopsmith87 commented. Sleep paralysis. I saw a grey hooded figure, standing over me every night and morning, for a few months after getting home from a deployment. I used to work myself into a rage, and break through that paralysis. To jump out of bed ready fight, only to be alone in an empty room. Luckily, one of my roommates, another military guy, that was a few years older, started to pick up subtle cues that I wasn't okay, and he flat out asked me if I was seeing something in my room, at night. He had the same experience, and filled me in on how it's basically a stress-induced hallucination. OP responded to Poopsmith87. That's horrible. I am so sorry you had to experience that. But I wasn't asleep. Poopsmith87 responded to OP. Neither was I. Definitely awake any time I saw the hooded figure, in the room. OP responded to Poopsmith87. I'm confused. How was it sleep paralysis then? Poopsmith87 responded to OP. It's called that, but it takes a few different forms. For some people, they are terrifying and realistic nightmares. But for many people, it manifests as a nightmare-like hallucination while awake, but on the verge of sleep exhaustion. It is usually due to suppressed stress, PTSD, anxiety, etc. I'll do my best to explain what I saw, but it's difficult to paint an exact picture. I was driving across the country with my mom. We'd just entered California from Arizona, a little before 11 p.m. Rural area. There were other cars around, but definitely wouldn't call it traffic. I'm driving, and a bit off the road. On the right side, ground level-ish. I see something glowing. It's a fluorescent neon dark blue. Very bright, but it didn't light up anything around it. It was just glowing. It was shaped like some kind of energy cell, looking thing out of a futuristic movie or video game. Probably 5 feet tall, and 2 feet wide, with ribbed sides. I then realized this thing was moving. And moving very weirdly. It was moving like it was glued to the ground, and tracing the slightly hilly terrain. Like it was on top of some kind of off-roading vehicle. That was magnetically held down to the terrain it was driving on. After a few seconds, it goes up a little, and disappears into the effing ground. And we see these 2 small spotlights pointing in the air appear, where it disappeared. They were moving very quickly. Like those ones you see, when there's some kind of arena event in your city. But the light didn't reach super far. These spotlights were encased by some kind of light dome, and couldn't shine past it. The light was just stopped in its tracks. Instead of fading out into the sky. In the dome it was lit up. It looked like fog inside of it, but not exactly fog. But I could still see these 2 spotlights shining around in it. Sporadically, because they were shining brighter than the rest of the dome. Keep in mind, I could not see anything else, as it was dark. Couldn't see the ground or surroundings. Drove past it, speaking with my mom trying to figure out what the F that was, that we just saw. All of it looked extremely unnatural. Literally, 5 seconds of driving later. Later my mom screams, "What the F is that?" I never ended up seeing what she was talking about, but she described. Basically what the internet says are black stick men, on the left side of the road now. Opposite side, of the road that we saw the neon light dome thing. And about 5 seconds of doing 65 miles per hour of distance from the dome. She said they were about 12 feet tall, built like stick figures or on stilts. And she couldn't discern ahead. I saw another post, that described how they walked in the same way my mom did. Lolloping or had a kind of bounce waddle, in their steps. At first, there was only one walking. Then another appeared close to it, and they were going towards each other. I punched the gas, and got the F out, because F that. I didn't think quick enough to take a video of the light dome blue thing, but I'm glad I didn't. Because for some reason, I feel like that wouldn't have gotten off easy for that. I'm not sure why I can't shake the theory, that this blue light has to do with the government. Or something going after these things. But I don't know shit. I'll also mention we then saw flashing things in the sky. Pretty far away, moving too close to each other to be aircraft. But I've written that off as border patrol drones. Here's some of the comments from this post. Repulsive Bake 4718 commented. I mean they've been shooting down UFOs recently, might be one of those. Traditional Front 637 questioned. How could you see all of this in such detail, if you were moving? OP responded to Traditional Front 637. Not sure what you mean. I was watching it as I drove. Traditional Front 637 responded to OP. Right. How could you determine this amount of detail, as you were driving by? Most people can't even see that amount of detail, rubbernecking at an accident. OP responded to Traditional Front 637. It's a long straight highway. I noticed the blue from pretty far away. And slowed down, as I was looking at it. I had about 15 seconds of watching it, until I passed it. Conehead1 inquired. That's very bizarre. Were you on the I-8 or the I-10 freeway? I make the drive too, and from California to Arizona all the time, and the desert can be very spooky at night. If you were on the 8, near the border with Mexico, there are sand dunes hills in that area, that people go off-roading on. But if it was at night, it could have been some sort of border surveillance vehicle driving up and down the dunes. The weird tall black stick figure things are creepy as hell though. OP responded to Conehead 1. Yup. The 8 West, right near the border. That was my first thought. That it was some kind of border patrol vehicle. But then I thought, why would a border patrol vehicle be off-roading at 11 PM? With no headlights, and a giant fluorescent thing on top of it, sticking up into the air. They'd be driving blind, unless they had night vision. And that's not accounting for what happened after. With it going into the ground? And turning into these spotlights, with a light trapping dome around it. And then a few seconds later, my mom sees these things. I just can't buy it, much as I want an explanation. The lights and the dome just behaved too weirdly. Haven't seen anything like it. Ominous Ice 2563 responded to OP. Wow. I totally believe you. Creepy shit. TLDR. I had 2 brown pants inducing moments of the potentially paranormal. Experience 1. I, 26 male, have had what I believe is either 2 paranormal experiences, or maybe my mind playing tricks on me. I shall explain further, in details to the best of my memory. When I was in year 10, around 15 years of age, around 2011-ish. I was staying up late on a Saturday night. I was chilling in the lounge, watching Comedy Central on TV, under a blanket. It was winter in New Zealand. Around midnight, as I was watching TV, I saw what resembled a young boy, with a bowl-styled haircut. And what I can assume is eyeless sockets, just pop out by the front door. Which was maybe 10 feet from where I was sitting. I won't deny, my heart was wearing its brown pants that night. I slowly got up. Wrapped my duvet around like it was going to protect me. Then the little bastard disappeared in front of my eyes. I proceeded to basically put the light switch through the wall. As I turned the lounge light on for protection, I slowly peeked around the corner, to see if he was still there. Nope, he was gone. I'm not sure why, but I slowly searched the house, looking for him, as my family slept. I found nothing. The next day, as I was in the lounge with my family, I saw in the corner of my eye, at the end of the hallway, the same little boy go from what was our wash house walk into what was our cupboards. Yes, a full body apparition. I told my mother, who was sitting next to me about. She told me, she saw him a few days prior, and had invited him into the lounge. We moved shortly, a few months after that. Experience 2. Around COVID, my family and I had to move from a house we lived in for nearly 10 years. Because the landlords were selling it. Again, I was watching TV late at night, and decided to go to bed around 1 AM. I walked to where my room was at the end of the house. In total darkness. I knew the layout of the house like the back of my hand. As I turned to go into my room, I bumped into a shadow of a person. That was the kind of darkness that would make the blackest of blacks look like a freshly painted white wall. The thing that was odd is this shadow person was taller than I. For context, I'm 6'2", and weighed 90 kilograms then. I, for some reason, apologized for bumping into said shadow person, saying, "Sorry mate." Not thinking, maybe said shadow person could have been a person who entered the house unlawfully. After said realization hit, my heart put on its brown pants again, but I wasn't as brave to go looking for said shadow person on this encounter, and proceeded to hide in my bed, under the covers like the BFG that I am. Here's a comment from this post. OP commented on their own post. I should also mention, I had a weird dream in the second encounter, involving the Dark Sonic characters, the Bat Succubus, with a game over screen, where the Bat Succubus proceeded to do a banshee scream. I then, in a state of not quite being awake, said, "Sorry everyone." I shared a room at this stage with my older waste of genetic coding, and his significant other, and proceeded to scream at the top of my lungs. After said scream, I lurched forward in a panic, From my not quite awake, but still asleep state. Noticed my foot was uncovered, and slightly hanging off the side of my bed. And then proceeded to lay back down, and go to sleep. Like I didn't just scream like I was being unalived. So, my family is full of sensitives. Not like, we walk into your house dripping crystals. And saying stuff like, there is a spirit of a woman here. We can't tell who. What? When? Where? Why or anything like that. Can't even tell good or bad. Just that there's something there. Also, if we even think your house is haunted, we won't go, because it's uncomfortable to have to sit there, and pretend we don't feel anything. There's no rhyme or reason to who can do it, or how we feel it. My grandmother feels it in her stomach. Mom feels cold wind on her body. My sister doesn't feel anything. And I feel, what I can only describe as a vibration. Where my skull meets my spine. Yes, I have called it spidey sense more than once. We also have the habit of knowing stuff we shouldn't. I have vivid memories of playing with my great-grandma, in a house that collapsed when my mom was 10. And my cousin was one of those children, who had the habit of telling people he didn't know their stillborn babies are happy where they are. And don't want them to be sad. Since we usually show signs when we're still little, 3 to 10 years old, we didn't think the newest batch of children would have the gift, since none had any of our bad habits. Not even seeming to get uncomfortable, when we feel something. So far as we know, none of us actually see ghosts. Except me, and now my nephew. I say, so far as we know. Because the ghost I think I saw was very normal. Not see-through or blank stare, or anything. Just a woman in a grey sundress, with purple flowers. That kinda looked like spider lilies, but I don't know much about flowers. And can only remember they were curved, and stringy. But definitely flowers. The only weird thing about her was, that her hair was natural. Which was rare, to almost unheard of in the 90s. I had gotten separated from my grandmother, in the store. And was having a little kid freak out, amplified by the "there's something here" feeling. This woman came over to me, and said something like she's not far, or she's this way. Whatever it was, it indicated that she was gonna take me to my grandmother. So I went with her, even holding her hand. It wasn't cold, but I also don't remember it being warm. Like a person should be. I say she's a ghost, because when we turn into the aisle where my grandmother is, I stopped getting the ghost feeling, and after taking a few steps towards my grandmother, I remember my manners, and turned to say thank you to the open air. Even at the time, I just think she saw I was reunited and walked away. Well, last week my nephew, now 14, said a woman in a grey dress, told him not to take his usual route home. Being in our family, he listened. Turns out, a car ran off the road and plowed into someone's yard. On the street he usually takes. My nephew tells us, he doesn't know who she is. Because he hasn't seen her before or since. When he mentioned that the purple flowers, I showed him a picture of a spider lily and asked if they looked like that. Same woman. Still looks young enough to be a mom, and with the same hairstyle and dress. Maybe I saw her when she was alive, and now my nephew saw her ghost. Maybe we both saw her ghost. And maybe the dress isn't as unique as I think. I have tried to find one online. But I'm gonna assume she's either an ancestor watching over us, or some ghost who goes around protecting kids, in our city. Here's some of the comments from this post. Parsley Horror 4233 commented. Afterlife goals, to be honest. Helping kids and looking stylish. OP responded to Parsley Horror 4233. I did really like the dress. And it's two of my favorite colors. The odd, this was that it wasn't a bunch of little flowers. Like you'd see on just fabric, but 4 or 5 big ones splashed across it. Plus bus 6937 chimed in. There's been strange sightings around town, of me and my brother's doppelgangers. True story. My brother's was described as looking at exactly like him, but with dead eyes. Spooky. Interesting story, though. Me and my mother seem to have a bit of clairvoyance, but specifically me? I remember in 2006, we visited my dying grandma. And I just had a strange feeling, like I had to stay there that night. She died early the next morning. Later that day, we were on the deck with my granddad. And I felt like my grandma's spirit was in me. And she was extremely angry at my granddad. He was kind of a jerk sometimes. A coyote just casually walked through the backyard, like 20 feet from us. Like it was a spirit animal. I've never seen any wild animal do that in broad daylight. A lot of strange things happened surrounding those 2 days. That's just a fraction of all the strange paranormal supernatural events and occurrences surrounding me and my family. Sorry, if I'm taking away from your experiences. Just relaying my similar experiences. OP responded to +6937. Are they dancing in the forest? JK, but it's always odd to hear. Didn't I just see you across town doing X? When you know you were home watching TV. +6937 responded to OP. I don't know, changelings. But pretty recently, I went to Dunkin' Donuts. And the clerk asked me if I had just been there. I don't exactly look like the average person, so it must have been someone who looked like me. And drove a very similar car. Doesn't exactly sound that likely. I never see anyone ever who likes me, period. I have a weird mix of ethnicities, compared to the average white person. My best friend had an even crazier doppelganger experience. His grandma said she got a call from him, but the call was coming all the way from the Dominican Republic. It definitely wasn't him, but it certainly sounded just like him. The connection I made is the DR shares the same island with Haiti. Basically ground zero for everything voodoo. Strange, scary spiritual world. OP responded to +6937. I usually think parallel realities clashing. Though I do tend to blame the Fae for most things, even when it's just weather changing suddenly. Doppelgangers, I always thought was a reality where you, in this case, went to DD earlier for whatever reason. Intersected with our reality for a bit. And on the subject of Mandela effects, you end up stuck there. Like you went into ADD, in a reality where Snoop and Martha flopped. And walked out into that reality instead of back into this one, where it was successful. To be honest, I could probably use that to explain most things. +6937 responded to OP. I remember Berenstein Bears pronounced, Berenstain. So I'm not from this universe as far as I know. Yeah, I live right next to an ancient forest. Native spiritual center. I've had many experiences with Fae. Christians might call them demons, natives called them pukwudgies. Almost like pygmy Sasquatches, definitely strange. I've had seen spook lights in there many times. I'm in New England. It's extremely haunted, cursed land around here. An hour from me is the Freetown State Forest. One of the top 10 haunted forests in the world. The larger area is known as the Bridgewater Triangle. It's just a super weird place to live over time. I don't know exactly what to think, honestly. Snoop and Martha, my aunt from Lowell, was on Martha Stewart, like 10 plus years ago. She got her 15 minutes. The stories so far have been head scratchers, and a little chilling. If you're enjoying this video, hit the like button. If you want to see more in our paranormal series or any of our series, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, to never miss a future video. If you would like to support this channel, and have more access to me and your fellow community members, join our Discord. Here you can submit your own encounter, have early access to videos, and so much more. Link is in the description. Share in the comments. So, this happened a couple of years ago. I am now 43 years old, and this happened about on my 20s. I was studying at the university, at those days. And in this specific moment, I was sleeping at a rented apartment with my cat. I had awakened, because my apartment's neighbors started to have a very noisy Kama Sutra session. Needless to say, that session awakened me and my cat, as we stood, sitting on the bed, looking to each other. Me and the cat. I thought, well, we could have a bite of something that may be laying around the fridge. Since we were awakened, Well, no harm in that, I thought, and so I did. I didn't turn the apartment's lights, because it was a night where the street lights were enough to see inside the house, and so I grabbed my albino cat, got out of the bedroom, and started going down the stairs. It was a duplex. The end of the stairs directed straight to the kitchen. And the cat was on my shoulder, looking back, still sleepy. And when I took the last step, right before the kitchen, I felt the cat's nails on my shoulder, and he growled. Oh. It was a very mad growl. Which was strange. He was almost deaf and very friendly cat. I never considered that I was being robbed, because I had a blast door installed. And those things are very thick, and made of metal. Not easy to get in. Anyway. That made me turn around instantly, and it was then that I have seen a very dark shadow, moving very quickly by the walls. And I mean fast. And big. It covered all the walls, and moved from one side of the room to the other, in about 1 second. Not human shape. And the shadow passed in front of the curtains, from the windows which were semi-open. I mean, the windows were closed, but the blinds were a little open. It was a 5th and 6th floor duplex. The cat was dropped to the ground. And he ran upstairs. And I just stood frozen there, looking to the walls. There was not much I could do. I could see the entire room. There were no doors there. There was no place where something could hide. If the cat didn't stabbed his nails on me and growled, hissed, I would probably dismiss it as a sleep hallucination, induced by a emergent Kama Sutra session. To this day, I still have no clue of what the hell that was. But yes, it was something, I guess. And I have never forgotten it. From time to time, I would still see dark figures, silhouettes on some walls. Usually at night. My animals never manifest. Though, that was the only time one pet directly reacted to something I also have noticed. And I have not seen anything like that for more than 15 years. Could be coincidence. Well, maybe. But the image that was imprinted on my retina was about a big shadow moving very fast. And yes, I did went to the fridge after a while and took a snack. Somehow I was not as hungry as I was before. No, I didn't took drugs. I was a good student. Please excuse any errors. My main language is not English. Here's a few comments from this post. Law Crime commented. You said the lights from outside were enough to light up the inside of your apartment. Could it have been a shadow of someone outside being projected up into your apartment? Depending on where distance is between the light source, person, and your wall. It could be a big shadow, and it could move fast. OP responded to Law Crime. No. At that time, I was on the 5th floor. It was a duplex on the 5th and 6th floors. And at the back of the building, where those windows were placed too, there were no driveways, as it was a park. Even if it would be a projection, with some very directed photons, the shadow on the wall could not be so defined, as the blinds were semi-closed. There were also curtains drapes in front of the windows. So, any light source would become very diffused. Also, the shadow went from left to right, in a 180 degrees angle from where I was standing. Very fast. There could be no such light projection angle, from the ground floor to the 5th floor. On some windows that were covered by drapes, that could result in that, I think. And I saw no light oscillation, just the shadow moving. This happened back in the 80s. My best friend and I were wandering around the neighborhood, in the afternoon. And we came to a short bridge, that went over a small creek. We looked over the rail, and saw this kid crouched on a big flat stone, at the edge of the creek, poking around in the water with a stick. He was wearing a red hoodie with the hood up, blue jeans and white high-top sneakers. I couldn't help but notice how incredibly clean his clothes and shoes looked. Well, we thought it would be funny to drop a rock in the water, and splash him. Seeing that didn't seem to know we were there. Then, he just looked up at us. Didn't stand up or anything, just calmly turned his head and looked right at us. His face was pure white and perfectly smooth, like an egg or something. No features at all. The fear we felt at his gaze was instant and intense. We ran like hell, for about 2 blocks. And after that day, we never talked about it again. About a year later, I was hanging out with some other guys, riding bikes, and another friend came running up, out of breath and freaked out. Started describing the exact same faceless kid, doing the same exact thing, but at a different spot along the river. I just kind of froze over, but everyone else was just making fun of him. I looked at him and just asked, super clean looking. He just went silent. I wonder if anyone else has seen this thing. Here are some comments from this post. Bombswell asked, was this in Northern California? OP responded to Bombswell, Central Wisconsin. Bombswell responded to OP, I've seen about 4 similar stories about Shasta, with faceless people. Worth a look. Moscow Ramada commented, the Water Association made me think of Japanese folklore. Beginning Rock 6103 responded to Moscow Ramada, I'd heard legends like this, but this one sounds spot on. Toad Striker inquired, holy crap man. What did you think it was? Exciting Front 5036 commented, did this not traumatize the shit out of you? I'm trying to understand how people, who had this experience, could even go through life after. Beginning Rock 6103 responded to Exciting Front 5036. Confused, I bet. My cat is 16 years old and meows in the back hall, early in the morning. He has learned to say a few words, pretty well in his years, as I've heard other cats have too. His favorite morning words are mom, Bob, and hello. Multiple times in the last week, I've heard his meow in another part of the house. But when I look over, he's sleeping in his laundry basket. And there's no way he would have made the sound. About an hour ago, I heard him in the hallway. First he yelled mom, like he normally does. And then I heard him yell Bob. Fairly long, and the way he said it got higher at the end, and I thought to myself, wow, that was really cute, he's never said it like that before. Then, I looked to my right. And he was standing very still, next to my bed with his ears perked all the way up. And his head tilted towards the stairwell. There is no way he would have been able to get next to me. In the time that I heard the sound, from the few seconds it took me to turn my head. He obviously heard the sound, too. He didn't seem scared, but he definitely seemed to be aware that something else just made his voice. And after about a minute of listening, went to investigate. He stood at the bottom of the stairs, staring up for a while, and then started yelling his favorite words very loudly. And seemed pretty irritated while he was doing it. I've had other odd experiences in this house, but I haven't felt uneasy like this. I've heard of weird things, like mimics imitating the sound of a person's voice, but never of a cat. Whatever it was, nearly succeeded in getting me to come to it by using my elderly cat as the bait. Here are some of the comments from this post. Angelou commented, I've always joked that since I live with cats, ghosts would have to work extra hard to scare me. Because any strange occurrence is easy enough to blame on the cat. Strange sounds. Things moving around. Cat. Shadowy figures, seen out of the corner of my eye. 100% cat. But something outright impersonating the cat, while the cat is right by you. Okay. Entity, you have my attention. OP responded to Angelou. Right. Most of it is always 100% the cat. But this I can't blame on the cat. Other things have been happening in the house, too. As my husband was about to get in the shower curtain opened about a foot. Like someone just moved the curtain for him. My mom heard someone moving boxes, in the middle of the night. And assumed it was me when I was asleep. My picture was knocked off the wall, when it was definitely steady. I'll be sitting in my room reading, or watching TV, and something silently clears a table next to me. Like an invisible arm comes in, and just knocks stuff off. I had 3 plastic bins of winter clothes and other items. At one point, I watched the top bin slide off the others and fall onto the floor. But it was silent, and almost slow motion. I've never felt threatened in the house. Until I heard it imitating my cat in the hall, I almost went to it. Maybe I should, but that was incredibly unsettling. My cat has been my best companion for 16 years. He's spoiled rotten, and gets whatever he wants at this point. I was turning to get up, and go see if I could do something, when I saw that he was next to me. Impressive Diamond 64 also commented, I feel like he's communicating with an old companion. OP responded to Impressive Diamond 64. He was next to me though, and I heard him meowing in the hallway. He can't be right next to me and meowing in the hallway. Impressive Diamond 64 responded to OP. No. Like I mean, his old companion is the one meowing to him. OP responded to Impressive Diamond 64. He's never had a companion that meowing like him, but that's food for thought. Thank you for your input. So, this situation happened about 2 years ago. It was summertime, and my dog has always been a sweet boy, but never super affectionate. He would occasionally cuddle, but for the most part, he liked to be on his own. Until one day, during the night. I don't recall the time. He barked and growled to get into my room. I always sleep with the door shut. So I decided to let him in, because I became concerned. As soon as I let him in, he begged to be picked up onto my bed. And as soon as I did that, he started to circle around me. I recorded video footage of this, because it was that bizarre. He would start at my chest, walk across me, circle back to my head, sit, and stare. He would repeat this process multiple times, and would not leave my side. My mom had stood in my doorway, just as concerned as I was, because he would not leave me alone. I was feeling very uneasy, and quite worried something was wrong with him. He slept by my side that night, continuously circling my head. I eventually fell asleep, due to exhaustion. The next morning, he would either lay his head on my chest, or crawl onto my lap, and just sit and stare at my door. This happened for about a week or so, and it happened on 3 occasions. All the same, lasting for a week or so. I hadn't done anything to provoke any spirits. I hadn't done anything out of the ordinary whatsoever. But it just felt like something was off. I was so worried about what he could have been protecting me from. Though I was mainly worried that he was maybe sick. So I brought him to the vet. And I even called the emergency vet hospital, the first night this happened, telling them, in detail, what behavior he was exhibiting. They both had no explanation, and just insisted he was fine. I told a coworker about this, whom was experienced and gifted. She told me she saw something attached to me, but couldn't tell if it was good or evil. She advised I place a cross on the inside of every door, in the house. But I never did. I am wondering what your thoughts are. If anyone has any experience, or has had anything similar happen to them. Here's a few comments from this post. Powerful Machine 3772 commented, do you have a problem with your health? Heart. OP responded to Powerful Machine 3772. I do not. No. Dragon Wolf 4 also commented. Yes, he most definitely was one pets can see sense paranormal. And many times try to protect their humans. The speculation was because electromagnetic fields. Recent Lime 8299 chimed in. I can't say I have had a similar experience. But I am also a dog owner, and very tuned into my dog's characteristics and behaviors. I noticed in the last 2 years, if she is startled by something, she will do things similar to what you mentioned, but it is done in a way where I feel like she is seeking protection from me. And not the other way around. She is almost 80 pounds, and fears no humans or animals that I have ever encountered, but gets spooked by things that would not spook a human. For example, my husband used a massage gun on himself last night. And the only reason I could make the connection that she was prancing around me due to the vibrations of the device was because she exhibited the behaviors as soon as he pulled it out and turned it on. So maybe on these occasions, your dog felt something that you didn't notice, because you weren't around them when it happened. Said you were in your room, with the door closed before incident 1. My dog will do anything to get behind me, around me, on top of me in these instances. Once my smoke detector battery warning noise was going off, for a few hours before I got around to changing the battery. I didn't realize until later, that my dog was exhibiting these same type of characteristics that day because of that. She stopped as soon as I changed it. I hope you get to the bottom of it. Was just here to sort of put your mind at ease. Maybe. OP responded to recent Lime 8299. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I'm not sure if something else was happening, when I wasn't home. He hasn't done it since, which is good. But I've thought about it a lot. Thanks for sharing your experience with me. Recent Lime 8299 responded to OP. Sure. I am glad it hasn't continued to happen. Dogs sense, see, smell, hear, or feel things sometimes that we don't always make a connection with. Best of luck. We just moved into this house about 3 months ago. It's a pretty nice suburbs neighborhood, but dark and creepy at night. As the neighbors tend to turn off all their outside lights when they go to bed. I'm a smoker, I used to go out the back patio a lot. But it's the spookiest to me. Totally wide open, low visibility at night. And I often hear freaky animal noises, and wolves howling from the forest park right beside us. So, I started going out front on the porch, even though it's louder. I try not to wake my children or husband. The first time I heard someone whistling, was a few weeks ago. It was nighttime, and my husband had just run to the gas station. Which takes all of 7 minutes. Neighbors hadn't gone to bed yet, as it was early nighttime. But I hear it. High to low whistle. Like when trying to get someone's attention, not to, say, call a dog. And sounded alarmingly close. I looked around, and saw literally no one. I looked back in the house, husband not home yet. And no sign of anyone being outside anywhere. I was a bit freaked out and went inside. I told Hub later, and he just shrugged it off. Kind of. Well, just now, I go outside. I decide to go back patio again. Even though I've been consistently going front porch, for a while now. And I hear it again. Except this time it's 2 AM, all neighbor lights are off, not a soul moving. Only sounds I hear are faint knocking sounds, like maybe a table rocking from wind or something, except it's not windy. I hear squeaks or something, and I'm wondering if raccoons are in the neighbor's yard. They're trash. Or maybe a cat is scatting at something. And I hear a quick whistle again, just as I'm heading back in. High to low. Still close, but further than last time. I feel like with how close it sounds, I should be able to see whoever is doing it. But I can't see anyone still, and there's zero signs of movement anywhere. All 3 neighbors by us are all off to bed. As the one to my right turns off her porch lights and TV. I can see the TV from my patio. Across they always turn off all lights inside, and diagonal they turn off their backyard market lights. I'm literally shaking as I go inside. It feels creepy, and I feel like something is repeatedly doing it at me now. I go upstairs, to look out a window from high ground. And I still see nothing at all? No movement, no outline of anything. I don't get it. Here's some comments from this post. Fruit Loops Pig commented. Okay. I'm really freaked out. I'm going to cut and paste an exact email I sent my sister Friday night. I don't know how to post screenshots. I took Chai out at 10 PM, and while out there, we heard a very distinct, sort of shrill bird call. Animal squeal. Like a whistle. I don't know, but it made me uneasy. Chai reacted to it too, and went in pretty fast. Weird but whatevs. The boys woke up Chai, and he barked. So I took him out again. 11 PM. We walk out, Chai lifts a leg, starts peeing. Same noise, exact same pattern except it's louder. It was effing unnerving. And Chai also started like hopping in while peeing, like he was out of there. I don't know, but I'm upset enough to double check all the doors. Put a chair in the way, and email document it. That's what this is, a paper trail. I didn't see anyone, and have never heard anything like that, but it was very distinctive. Also, my dog reacted strangely. Normally he barks and gets crazy at things, but he didn't. He just GTFO. Second time he was peeing and still trying to run. I'm still freaked out, and have been taking the dog out the front ever since. Note: my sister and I paper trail weird things. So if an explanation is found, or it happens again, there's evidence. OP responded to Fruit Loop's pig. That really is terrifying. I feel like stuff is extra spooky when a dog animal is acting out of sorts. Just sends all the chills. I like the idea of paper trail. I feel like y'all could make it into a book someday, honestly. True spooky stories. I hope you get some resolution into what it is. Or that it just goes away, and never does it to you again. Plastic Zucchini 202 also commented. Not to put a turd in your punch bowl, you might be hearing a Bigfoot. They whistle and do tree knocks. Check out the area with your husband, in the daylight. And check for footprints, broken tree branches. Up high. Big scat, or boneyard. Lily R1 suggested. That sounds creepy, but I'm sure there's a logical explanation. Like some birds or critters maybe. Nesting in your yard. It's unnerving that this sound seems to be following you, though. Stay strong and keep us updated, if anything else happens. Hope everything is okay. OP responded to Lily R1. That's what I was hoping for. I'd feel that as a good explanation, except our yard is totally empty. No trees, bushes, flowers. Just a flat plot of land, that the house takes up most of. I don't even see squirrels out here. I put a bird feeder in the front yard, and haven't seen any visitors yet. Conman59 asked. Where do you live at? If I may ask. OP responded to Conman59. Wisconsin. Voigtlander chimed in. Could be a nighthawk. Or many types of owls. They all make incredible noises at night, including the high to low whistle. As for the house, it's contracting and expanding with the environment. Totally normal, don't be concerned. OP responded to Voigtlander. I don't know. I'd think about animals first, except it really does sound so perfectly human. Also, because when facing out on my patio, I always hear it from the right, and not the left. Where the forest is. Now, I've seen deer just walk down the road, literally. And I hear an owl almost every night. Occasional wolves, and other animals. That I have no idea what they are, but our yards have no vegetation at all. My yard specifically doesn't even have trees. Let alone flowers, bushes, etc. The previous owners ripped it all out, to make way for grass only. There's only a few trees. 3 to 4, anywhere close by. But they're small, and totally naked since it's winter. Which is why I feel like it's not a bird. I just don't see them perching on houses, porches, etc. Also sorry this is so late. I don't get on Reddit much. Dream Warrior 90 advised. Don't go looking for whatever is the source of the whistling. You might not like what you find. And whatever it is, could be trying to lure you out to it. OP responded to Dream Warrior 90. I definitely don't want to go to whatever it is. I've considered waking my husband up, because I'm particularly freaked. I haven't stopped thinking about it, in the last hour and a half. It's amusing that just the other day, we were talking about how weird the house's doors can be sometimes too. Some of them just open. Especially the nursery door. We'll be on the camera of it, door is closed. Look back in a few, and the door will be open. Same for the computer room, I was in it the other night. Pulled it too, sat down watching YouTube, and the door just opens. Then it closes. Then it tries to open, 2 or 3 more times and just stops. I get up thinking my cat is trying to get in. And she's not even out there, or upstairs. Head Mathematician 53 responded to OP. According to legend, the goddess Hecate has something to do with doors. Doorways, crossroads, intersections. 3-way street with stop signs, gates, etc. And dogs. Is the whistling sound you're hearing akin to a dog whistle? This stuff usually happens at night, right? Have you talked with any lady? Old or young, at an intersection. Gate. Three-way crossing. Around a corner recently. Any lady come out of nowhere, and start talking to you. Like they know you. OP responded to Head Mathematician 53. Actually, yes. Sorry this is so late, I don't jump on Reddit much. But I live on a corner lot, of a three-way intersection. And my neighbor is that way. Very overly friendly. She came to knock on our door once, just to tell us we had a package on our porch. Same when we were moving in, just over here a lot, talking to us. But I'm not sure about a dog whistle. Like a physical one. It sounds like a real human doing it. That's why it's so scary to me, like someone whistling for a signal. Or to get attention, but there's no one. Head Mathematician 53 responded to OP. You've heard wolves howling at night. OP responded to Head Mathematician 53. Oh yeah. One night, a train going by got them riled up. And I heard them start howling. One by one until they were done. And just started barking at each other. This has been a crazy ride and I'll bring you any updates in future videos. If you've stuck with me until the end, you're amazing. If you want to catch more episodes in the Paranormal series, or any of my other series, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell to never miss a future video. If you enjoyed this content, smash the like button and leave a comment down below. If you would like to support this channel and be a part of a growing community, we have a Discord server. Check out the link in the description. You can also submit your own encounters, and have more access to me and your fellow community members. Join the community. Until next time, be safe out there.